in these images for color, and then you're going to select, using the eyedropper tool, the colors from the images to fill squares. And then you're going to use that to color the 4 styles of the skirt. Okay, so to start at the beginning, let me get this is what happens when you don't link your files, when you don't save linked files, you end up with empty sad holes where you had pictures before. So make sure you're doing save linked files for this one, because that's a big part of the project. And I'm just going to grab my Croquis. Let me download you. Okay, so to do a skirt is really easy. It's basically a step backwards. So I'm going to grab my tools. Well, it depends on what kind of skirt you want to do as well. I'm going to do a simple skirt. I'm going to do the one that's in the book on page 56. And you definitely do not have to do that boring skirt, but you certainly can. Okay, so the method on this one, make sure you've got a fill and a stroke selected. You start at center front, hold shift, click out. I'm going to click and curve as I go, rather than go click, 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 and go back and curve. I'm going to click and pull to do a nice hip curve. Hold shift to get that nice straight up and down line. And we're going to make this very modest. We'll take this right a little bit above the knee. And then see how I get that pink line? I'm going to hold shift so this doesn't do that. Shift constrains me to either 45s or 90s. And then that pink line says I'm right below the top. Okay, escape. Then we are going to put on a little dart, and so I'm going to turn off the fill on this. I have no line here, right? It's line, 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 open, because we're going to flip it and join it. So I'm going to turn off my fill, and I'm going to draw in a dart line, and that is something that you use to shape. I don't know why Illustrator's not drawing in my dart. All right, shape the skirt, and there we go. Uh-oh. What did I forget to do? Very bad. My layers. Uh-oh. So bad. All right, so I'm going to hold that, hold shift, control X, which is cut. I'm going to lock that layer so I don't do that, and I'm going to control F, paste in front. So I'm on the right layer. Okay. Back on track. Fill that with white. I'm going to make sure that little guy does not have a fill. And then I'm going to black arrow, select, flip. Let's copy and then move that over. Now you'll see it looks like my dart has disappeared. It hasn't. It's just Illustrator has decided that this shape has been drawn after that dart once we join it. So you just have to arrange, oops, send to back, and your dart will magically appear again. Okay. So now we're going to do the waistband, and the waistband is so easy. It's just a rectangle. Try to get it right at that edge, and it's literally just a shape. You don't even have to draw it with points. You just draw it as a shape. That's the front of our skirt. Isn't that fashionable? Ugh. Okay. Then we're going to do a back, because she never remembers to do that, which bugs me in this book. Now the only trick to back darts on a skirt is that they are slightly shorter and positioned a little bit different than they are in the front. And So I'm just going to redraw that dart. I'm going to delete that one because I want to make sure that they're the same. So I'll select the one I just drew, and then I'm going to do a copy and just fly that one over. Okay. Also with skirts like this, I'm going to put my fill back on. You will generally have a seam that goes all the way down to the bottom, and then a lot of times you will have a pleat of some sort that will allow you to be able to walk, right? Because generally skirts that are narrow will have something that looks like this. I'm going to do a dotted line on it because it's so what that represents is that this skirt, will able to be it'll have a vent. So that section will actually be sewn over and open. So you can actually have some movement in it. Okay. So we have our skirts, I'll group that. And then you would just grab your style information from another document, boom, boom, and rename the skirt style number, whatever it is. Okay, so I have done a more attractive skirt, as you can see. That one guy, I was inspired by WGSN a couple seasons ago, and so my skirt that I've done here, I actually drew. I'll do a couple ungroups here so you can see what I have. That's just a series of lines that, right, like I have a couple different shapes, and then I have the hem is a zigzag line here, and then I just drew lines on top. So things like that, just make sure that you don't have a fill on those lines. And on the back, I'm pretty sure, what do I have at the back? There we go. Same thing. Series of lines on top of this, and I drew that as a zigzag at the bottom. So in terms of inspiration, I was on WGSN looking at their dresses and skirts. Where did they go? Alright. Seems to have frozen on me, which I don't like. Spring summer 2018 skirts and dresses. Why did you not open this up for me? There we go. Okay. So here in design development, you can. So the shirt dress is what they're looking at for spring and summer 18. That's the technical. That's the inspiration fabric. These are some of their inspiration styles. The wrap mini, so that's pretty cute and not that hard or technical to do. It's actually easier than the one that we did, except there's a bit more shaping. We have the drop waist dress. And that sort of looks like my skirt, the drop waist skirt being sewn in with a pleat. Oh boy, who wants to do that technical? Oh boy, that'll be you. She's luscious. There we go. Huh?
Oh, fine.
You love ruffles. Very feminine. Very, oh, so couture. Looks like Gucci. Look at that. So if you were actually crazy enough to do that right now, you would draw it like little zigzag, and then you would draw lines on top the way I did my skirt. And then you would hate me because you'd be so busy. But you are welcome to do a beautiful one like this if you so desire. Look how pretty they are. All right. The midi mesh skirt, so here it's a transparent kind of over ballet skirt type thing. The caftan dress. The wrap front beach skirt. So you can see gray for the background and white in the front for the technical. The cutaway dress, so this is kind of like our athleisure styles that we did last week. Oh boy, that's pretty easy. And there you go. So once you have your beautiful skirt done, what I would like you to do is the way we did our mood boards, and I'm gonna regroup. No, okay, I'm gonna get all this out of the way. Bye-bye. Okay, that can stay. If you want to color the background of a drawing, that's just a shape. I drew a square, like a rectangle, and I filled it with color. That's real basic on that one. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is to come up with some inspiration for color. And for mine, I had minerals, right? You can see from my sample, I placed the photo images of these various gemstones, and then I pulled the color. But when I saved it as a JPEG, the color did not agree with, because this is what those original colors were. See how much more purple it was in Illustrator? Anyway. And you know, file place. So I grabbed some more gemstones off the internet. I know I'm going to want it to be about that big. Oh, thank you. I'm going to embed as I go along, so you can save yourself the hassle of at the end save linked files. You can also double check by linking each time, like embedding each time you place it, right? I'm going to embed. File place. Where is it? Go. Okay, so I have my beautiful gems. I picked a shape that I liked, and in this case I grabbed a sphere, so I used the ellipse tool, and I created a circle. Hold shift when you're drawing and it will give you a nice circle shape. And then I'm going to give it a stroke that I can see, so I'll make that a little thicker. And then I'm going to Control C, Control V. That's one. Control V. That's two. Control V. That's three. Control V. And I'm going to have to make that one bigger because it's not going to clip properly. So I'm going to drag that over. And then I'm going to hold the corner. Holding the corner keeps it from getting warped. Good. And then the clipping mask. But I want to get a little bit more variety in my, there we go. So again, only trick is the shape has to be on top of the photograph. Okay, so then I drew my squares. So square is the rectangle tool. Again, hold shift. get a nice consistent size. There we go. And four of them. Now, when you want things to be lined up perfectly and beautifully in Illustrator, there's a very handy tool which I'm going to introduce you to called, oops, get rid of you, the Align tool. And Align functions show up automatically along here. You can also open up the Align tool under Window and Align. Okay, so what it does is, and Pathfinder is underneath Align, so you can go back and forth and use those tools as well if you have that open. So the way it works is, when you select several objects, I'm going to get rid of my little ghost shapes, make sure I'm not accidentally selecting those. Good. Okay, so if you select these guys, you can line them up through the middle perfectly. You can also distribute them perfectly, which is, where's my distribute? There we go. Boom. So it'll make them all perfect distance apart, and we're going to do this on Thursday when we are making buttons. Okay? So I would like it to be closer to that, so I'm going to move this one up. And the way it works is it distributes between the top shape and bottom shape in the list. So if I use distribute here and then line them up. So I'm going to move this one here, kind of at the bottom of my page, and I'll move this one up to there. And then again, I'm going to select them, line them up, and that's looking pretty good. Yeah, that I like. Okay, and you can, again, adjust them if you want it perfect with no space in between. That's up to you. Okay. Alright, so then I want to use the eyedropper. Oops, I want to miss your shapes, get rid of you. So you select a shape, and then the eyedropper tool is over here. Okay? And it's very handy. Make sure you've got fill selected, eyedropper, because you can click into your photo image and it will pull the colors out. Handy, eh? So if you know you're looking for something, and I'm going to look for something more orangey, I like that one, so I'll use that for that one. And then I'm going to eyedropper in my lapis color, maybe something a little darker. And you can move around to find the right color. Then in my topaz, a little more, that's good. And finally, in my amethyst, you can grab a nice purple from in here, and that's takes a little clicking around. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to get rid of the shapes I had originally. Like that. Delete. I'm going to move these guys in. I'm going to grab one more square there. Top. And then I will change the color of that. Okay. I don't want to get it in outline. And again, how you want to design the page, that's up to you. This is more like a design as opposed to a technical drawing. Okay, so I have my front and my back of my skirts, and you can eyedropper the color. I'm actually going to put strokes on these while I have the chance. Oops. Shift, good. And get all of them with a black stroke so that when I select it and do, and these have been grouped, you remember, you can eyedropper and pull the color from your list over here. I'm going to need one more skirt. Control C, Control V, because I pulled apart my first one from my last one. Okay, if you have something that is very dark and you've got dark lines on top of it, you can go in and put in something lighter for your, see how you can actually see the sewing lines now? Look, good, is that showing? Good. Same thing with this one, I would go in and I would make sure the stroke is selected and then a much paler blue would be nice for something like that. Okay, so one final step is, now we have our beautiful collection, and actually, oops, don't want to make that here. I'm going to send that to the back. I want to put in my little jewel inspirations. Now let's see if Illustrator, sometimes Illustrator works well with these guys distribute. Sometimes it distributes the shape of the original photograph. I'll have to see what it's going to do. Will it be cooperative? Yes, okay, good. And I want to line that through the middle. So the way I lined those guys up to the top, you can also do it through the center of the shape using that one there. Okay, so I'm going to move this one a little bit over and then select everything again. Do multiple selections holding shift if you don't want to, if you can't marquee easily. Hold shift and then select multiple items, and I'm going to do distribute evenly, which is that one. Ta-da! Okay, so are you inspired?
So full skirt, but different color.
Exactly, same skirt,